Kevin won the trust of Q, Quentin Covington's son and lieutenant, after saving Q from a police raid on an underground BattleBot club. Fortunately, Q has no idea who Kevin is, and Kevin hopes Q can get him and his team of Zara, Hiro, and Yuki access to the next piece of Quentin Covington's mysterious blueprint. But Anata, Q's pregnant girlfriend and bodyguard, knows exactly who Kevin is and sends armored security robots to kill Kevin. Kevin managed to defeat the robots, called the Raspies, in a daring move that left him clinging to the ivy on the side of the rooftop garden of Q's penthouse Tokyo apartment building. But Anata had come prepared and sliced through the ivy Kevin was clinging to, causing him to fall off the side of the building. Anata smiled down at Kevin as she watched him plunging down through thin air. Kevin knew that he was falling, and that there was absolutely nothing between him and the alley pavement 100 floors below where the smashed bodies of the armored security robots already lay in pieces. Kevin twisted in the air, desperately scanning the building for anything he could use to stop this fall and save himself from certain death. There it was, a flagpole stuck out from an apartment balcony 20 floors below. Kevin knew he would have to time this just right. Not only did he have to catch the flagpole, but he also had to work the physical forces at play in his favor, so he didn't wind up tearing his arm from its socket in the process. Kevin spread his body wide, creating as much wind resistance as possible. The flagpole was only 10 stories away, then 5, then 1. At the last second, Kevin twisted again. He snagged the flagpole with only the tips of his fingers, but it was enough. Centrifugal force whipped him around the pole, and Kevin continued to twist his body, trying to take the strain off his joints. It worked. Kevin had executed the move perfectly. Kevin looped easily around the flagpole twice. Unfortunately, the flagpole wasn't designed to take this kind of strain. The flagpole broke away from the building just as Kevin reached the top of the third arc. Kevin's momentum was perfectly balanced between the centrifugal force launching him upward and the gravitational force pulling him back down. Instinctively, Kevin's hand shot out and caught the balcony's railing. He managed to hang on as the flagpole plunged 80 stories down to join the mangled remains of the Raspies on the sidewalk far below. But now, Kevin had another problem. He had to get back to the rooftop garden before Anata had time to warn Q about Kevin's real identity, and Kevin was 20 floors below Q's penthouse apartment. Fortunately, the balcony railings climbed in decorative swirls up the entire side of the Tokyo high-rise. Kevin began to climb, hand over hand, foot over foot. But this was too slow. It was taking too long. If Anata told Q that Kevin and his team were actually there to steal a piece of his father's blueprint, Kevin would lose his best chance to complete his mission and make it back to Chicago in time to keep his promise to Lily, to be there for their baby's gender reveal party. Kevin never broke a promise to Lily. Kevin had to move faster. He began springing from foothold to foothold and leaping vertical distances. First for 2 feet at a time, then 5 feet, then 10 feet all at once. It required exquisite, perfect timing. Not just once like catching the flagpole, but again and again and again. The tiniest error would send Kevin plunging backward to the hard pavement more than 1,000 feet below. Anata stroked her pregnant belly protectively as she ambled to the door leading from the rooftop garden back to the penthouse. There was no reason to hurry now that Kevin Williams was lying dead in the alley 100 stories below. She reached to unlock the door, but just then a soft plastic mesh fell over her body, enveloping her completely. "What the hell?" Anata exclaimed as she was lifted into the air. She kicked and struggled, but the soft plastic mesh was elastic and stretched with her movements. She struggled until she got into a sitting position and saw that she had been twisted up in a large swath of gardener's mesh. Kevin Williams was holding it up in the air on the end of a rake. He smiled at her. "You know," he began, "I was wrong." "About what?" Anata twisted, trying to reach for her tiny knife, but she lost her grip on the knife and it fell through a hole in the mesh. "I can't just think of a dozen ways to neutralize you with absolutely zero risk to you or the baby." Kevin headed for the garden shed nearby, the rake over his shoulder with a Nada swinging from the end of it. "I can think of 13 ways," Kevin finished. Before Nada used it to store the armored security robots, the garden shed had been a place for gardeners to store supplies, to rest, and to eat their lunches. Among the gardening equipment was a sofa and a mini-fridge that still held snacks and drinks. Kevin gently lowered Nada onto the sofa and snipped a hole in the mesh with a set of pruning shears so he could grab her phone. He ignored her hissing and screaming as he shut the shed's door and secured it by simply breaking off the doorknob. Nada would eventually work her way free of the mesh. She had food and water. She and the baby would be perfectly safe. Once Kevin and his team had secured the next piece of the blueprint, Kevin would make a call to emergency services to make sure that Nada didn't spend any more time in the shed than necessary. Back in the penthouse, Kevin found Q still showing Zara his office and discussing various computer programming strategies for creating large-scale robots. Although Kevin looked only slightly rumpled after his altercation with the robots in his plunge off a Tokyo skyscraper, Zara got the idea his rooftop visit hadn't been a peaceful one. "How was the garden?" she asked meaningfully. "More exhilarating than I expected," Kevin confirmed. "Where's Nada?" Q asked. "She didn't want to interrupt your discussion with Zara," Kevin explained, "so she asked me to tell you she decided to go stay with her mom for a few days." Q frowned. "Really? That's not like Nada." He checked his phone and then relaxed. "She sent me a text message saying the same thing, though." Kevin smiled. He had been the one to send Q the message from Nada's phone. "Sometimes women like to be with their mothers the closer they get to their due date," Zara offered, lending her authority as a woman. Zara turned to Kevin. "Q's been telling me about the new coding language he's developed to work with the advanced superconductors his father discovered." "It's kind of hard to explain in the abstract, though," Q added. "It would be much easier to demonstrate." "I'd love to see that," Kevin smiled. "Would you be willing to give us a demonstration?" Very early the next morning, Kevin, Zara, Hiro, Yuki, and Q left Tokyo in Q's private super train car, bound for Quentin Covington's robotics factory in the northern region of Tohoku. At the train station, Q had a self-driving private car transfer them to the factory itself. Q showed them around several departments and labs. Kevin instantly noticed something strange. Where are all the employees? Kevin wanted to know. They hadn't seen a single other person since arriving. "Mostly they work remotely from home," Q explained. "There's a crew that comes in to do maintenance, but that's not until the end of the week." "So we're the only people here?" Yuki asked. Personally, he thought being alone there made the place rather spooky. "Yup," Q was unconcerned. "It really reduces security concerns." Q turned to Kevin. "I'd really like to get your input on some of our latest work." "I'd be happy to give it." Kevin hadn't spotted any place that seemed like it would contain the piece of the blueprint they were after. Q didn't even have an office at the factory, so it must be elsewhere. Q led them into a room the size and shape of an airplane hangar. Several huge robots stood in the corners. These were far bigger than the robots Kevin had fought on the roof of Q's apartment building. These were 20 feet tall and weighed many tons each. "What's the problem with these?" Kevin wanted to know. "No problem, really," Q answered. "But my father would like to reduce their weight in any way possible." Kevin and Zara examined the giants. Kevin noted, "They all have more gyroscopic actuators than I'd think you'd need. Maybe you could remove a few. It wouldn't affect their balance much." Q shook his head. "No, those have to stay. My father was very adamant about how these robots need to perform in unstable conditions." "You mean like on the deck of a boat?" Hiro wondered. Q shrugged. "I have no idea. He didn't say. He just gave me a set of performance metrics to meet and told me to design the robots so they could be operated either manually, automatically, or by remote." Kevin left the robotic giants. His attention was drawn to another part of the hangar. A solid metal cube sat here, 8 feet on each side. "What's this?" he asked Q. Q flapped a hand. "Oh, that's more of a joke. My father asked me to keep something safe for him, so I designed the ultimate safe. Really went overboard, I mean really overboard, but Dad said I did a great job." Q smiled proudly. "I call it my safe. Kevin shot Hiro and Yuki a look. Hiro and Yuki nodded back. They knew what to do. "Hey, is there a bathroom in this place?" Hiro asked. "Yeah, with no people did you bother to have a toilet installed? I could really use one." Yuki crossed his legs and looked like he had to go. "Sure, I'll show you where it is," Q offered politely. He showed them out of the hangar. Kevin turned to Zara. "This must be where the blueprint is being kept. Can you put that algorithm I taught you to use and crack it open?" Kevin asked. "I'm already on it." Zara had her laptop out. "There's no dial or keypad on the safe, so it must need a computer interface." The outside of the cube was featureless except for one tiny USB port. Zara plugged a toggle into it in order to connect wirelessly from her laptop. "We better hurry," Kevin urged her. "Q could come back at any moment." "Don't worry," Zara assured him. "Once I get your safe-cracking program up and running, it will take less than 5 seconds. Just need to enter my password and—" Incredibly, a huge robotic arm unfolded out of the side of the cube and snatched Zara up in its fist. "Zara!" Kevin yelled in alarm. "Hold tight. I'll get you out of there." He ran to look for a weapon. "Hurry, Kevin, you have to—" But her words were cut off. Kevin looked back to see the robot hand squeezing hard, threatening to crush Zara to death. After befriending Q, Quentin Covington's son and lieutenant, Kevin and his team of computer programmers, Zara and the twins Hiro and Yuki, traveled north from Tokyo to Tohoku. Q agreed to show them around his robotics factory where Kevin believed the next piece of the mysterious blueprint was surely hidden. While Hiro and Yuki distracted Q, Kevin and Zara attempted to break into one of Q's inventions, the safe, hoping to find the blueprint inside. However, the safe was cleverly designed to fight back. Zara gasped as the robot hand jutted out of Q Covington's mega safe compressed against her sides. Her feet dangled off the floor and she felt her ribs creak as the mechanical hand squeezed her again. Kevin gave up on his search for a weapon and ran back. Zara could be squished to paste any moment now. He dashed to her laptop, which she had just been booting up in order to hack into the electronic safe. "We need to crack the code as quickly as possible," he shouted at her. "That should override any other security measures." "I hope so," Zara gasped. Her face was turning red. Kevin scooped up her laptop. "What's your access code for the laptop?" "It's based on a Lucas sequence," she told him. She pushed and strained at the robotic hand holding her, but it was no use. "George?" asked Kevin. "No, Francois." Zara had to fight for breath. Spots danced in front of her eyes. "The first digit is 2, then 1, 3, 4, 7. The horrific electronic arm was coming from inside the 8-foot cube that was Q's safe. Before Zara could get the next digit out, a whirring and grinding noise was adding to the chaos. Kevin stared in astonishment as the safe started to move, unfolding itself as it transformed. A second arm peeled away from the cube's side while the bottom half transformed into legs. The safe stood up, unfolding its legs under itself. Still clutched in its fist, Zara rose through the air until she was dangling 20 feet up. At its full height, the safe robot was well over 30 feet tall, and the largest of all of the mega robots Kevin and his team had encountered so far.
"Security violation,"
boomed a deep voice from the center of the safe.
"Security violation. Engaging defense protocols. Level of authorized force, lethal."
A small dome popped out of the top of the safe's blocky torso and rotated, as if seeking a target. Kevin grabbed Zara's laptop and slowly backed away as the safe stepped forward. "Zara, hurry up," he yelled. "I need the rest of your access code." But Zara was hanging limply in the safe's fist now. Kevin could only hope that she had passed out due to a lack of oxygen and not damage to her internal organs. The safe dashed forward with surprising grace and grabbed for Kevin with its free hand. Kevin leapt up and rolled out of the way, clutching the laptop to his chest to protect it.
"You cannot escape me,"
boomed the safe.
"I have been programmed to withstand the most sophisticated safe-cracking techniques, physical and computational."
Kevin came out of his role and immediately button-hooked to the left, hoping to get the towering robot off balance. But Q's advancements in robot design had improved to an astonishing degree. The safe smoothly pivoted like a ballet dancer and made another grab at Kevin. Kevin leapt straight up into the air, grabbed the hand of one of the construction robots Q had shown them earlier, and swung out of Safe's grasp. He glanced around and found what he was looking for by the door. Kevin dropped to the floor and shot across the huge hangar in a dead sprint.
"Run if you want, coward,"
the safe taunted.
"I will find you anywhere you go."
Of course, Kevin was no kind of coward. He wasn't trying to run out the hangar door or abandon poor Zara. He was trying to get to the panel beside the door. Kevin raked his hands over the light switches there and then punched the panel for good measure. Sparks flew from the panel and all the lights in the hangar instantly died. Kevin had memorized the hangar's layout before he had turned out the lights and kept the rest of his extraordinary senses on high alert. He was able to navigate the space almost as well as the safe, and without the benefit of infrared. He ran for his next destination once the safe's focus was turned to the far side of the room.
"That won't do you any good, foolish human,"
jeered the safe.
"Don't you think I come equipped with infrared capabilities? We'll need it where we're going."
Kevin saw his chance to learn more about Quentin Covington's ultimate evil plan. "And where is it you and these other mega robots are going?"
"That would be telling,"
growled the safe. Its head pivoted through 360 degrees, searching for Kevin with its night vision. "I don't think you know," Kevin jeered back. "Q didn't know. How could you know where Quentin Covington plans to send you and the other robots when the person who designed you doesn't even know?"
"I know far more than the little fool Q will ever know,"
crowed the safe.
"I am connected to my master Quentin Covington in ways his son could never hope to be."
Kevin sprinted faster, careful that his feet made no noise on the concrete floor, and gave his location away. If the safe guessed his destination, saving Zara and getting his hands on the next piece of the mysterious blueprint would be that much harder. Finally, Kevin reached his goal, one of Q's construction mega robots. Q had mentioned they could be run manually, and Kevin had noticed something when they had been examining the robots earlier. Each one had a cockpit built into the torso of the robot. Kevin slipped inside and locked the hatch behind him. The space was dark and small, but almost instantly a bank of monitors and controls began to silently light up. They showed video feeds from all of the robot's external cameras, giving a 360-degree view of the hangar. "That's better." Kevin smiled to himself. Now he could see the safe, but since Kevin was concealed in the chest of the mega construction robot, the safe couldn't see him.
"Where are you?" demanded the safe. "I know you're here somewhere. Save yourself the agony of anticipation and show yourself right now."
Kevin didn't even dignify that ridiculous suggestion with a reply. He allowed safe to continue to roar out insults and threats as he returned his attention to Zara's laptop and cracked her access code. He already had part of the Lucas sequence she used for her password. He just had to continue the calculations. Kevin's superior intelligence raced ahead, easily supplying the rest of the digits: 11, 18, 29, 47, and on and on. Once no more characters were allowed, Kevin hit enter, and the laptop booted up smoothly. Unfortunately, it also made the typical booting up chime. On his robot's monitors, Kevin saw the safe stop and spin around at the sound.
"I heard that," the safe roared. "I know what you're doing. Don't bother. I will not allow you to hack into my systems."
The safe grabbed the toggle that connected it to Zara's laptop and yanked it free of the USB port on the safe side. It threw the toggle across the room. The construction robot's microphones perfectly picked up the ping as the toggle hit the concrete somewhere in the massive hangar. Damn! The safe had no external keypad or combination dials. If Kevin was going to crack its code, turn off its security protocols, and save Zara, he had to get that connection toggle reinserted in the safe. Kevin secured the laptop in easy reach, grabbed the cockpit shoulder harness, and strapped himself in. It was time to find out if the robotic construction monster had the same manual dexterity and delicacy Kevin had seen Q's robotic butler exhibit with a tray of priceless antique porcelain. Kevin punched a few buttons and glanced over the user instructions zipping by on the construction robot's internal monitors. His ability to operate damn near any car, boat, or aircraft came in handy as he soaked up the information like a sponge. He threaded his arms, hands, and fingers through the controls to work the robot's arms and pushed his feet against the pedals controlling its feet. The mechanisms were meant to be intuitive. Kevin just needed to move his body naturally and the robot should follow. Kevin suddenly hoped Q really was the genius he seemed to be. Kevin stepped forward, and to his delight, the robot copied him, treading just as silently as Kevin himself. Good, Kevin thought. Now to find where that toggle wound up. He punched a few more buttons to get the camera scanning and found it. There it was. Kevin pushed the robot forward, only to be blindsided by the safe as it slammed into the construction bot. Kevin's bot was knocked off its feet and crashed to the floor.
There you are, bellowed the safe. You think you're so clever, but I'm the most advanced robot Q ever made. You and that tin can are no match for me.
Kevin would have to be smart about this. He couldn't risk Zara getting injured if he attacked the safe head-on. He stayed down, playing possum as the safe came closer, still clutching the unconscious Zara in one hand. The safe raised a foot to stop Kevin's robot into spare parts, but at the last second, Kevin rolled his body to the side, and his robot mirrored the motion, tumbling across the vast hangar's floor, ending right where Kevin wanted it to, within arm's reach of the tiny connection toggle. Kevin reached out and snagged the toggle with the robot's hand. The toggle was no bigger than a quarter, and the robot could easily crush it. But the robot's fingers were able to conceal it from the safe while holding it at the ready. Now Kevin just had to get close enough to the safe to plug it in. Kevin got the robot to its feet, found the microphone, and thumbed it. He put a note of panic in his voice. "What did you do to me?" Kevin wailed in something like distress. Kevin was rarely in distress, so he didn't have much practice at sounding that way. "The cockpit hatch is jammed and I can't get out," he added, calling upon all of his acting skills. Just as Kevin planned, the safe stomped over.
Those construction bots never should have been built for humans to operate, it bellowed. You puny little bags of flesh only slow our kind down.
The safe raised its free hand for another punishing blow. Kevin shot out one hand and his robot jammed the connection toggle into the safe's side. With the other hand, Kevin punched the laptop's keys and the safe-cracking program he'd created fired up.
"What are you doing to me?" whined the safe. "What's... No, you can't crack me. Stop it. Stop it or the woman dies."
The safe raised Zara above its head, ready to fling her 30 feet to the concrete floor of the hangar, and then froze. Inside the construction robot's cab, the laptop blinked at Kevin, indicating the safe's combination had been cracked and all of its security protocols had been overridden. A door in the center of the safe's chest popped open. Kevin relaxed, flipped on the robot's external lights, and tucked Zara's laptop into his trusty satchel. He then climbed from the construction robot's cockpit. That's when the safe's fist relaxed and Zara slipped from its grip. Still unconscious, she plummeted toward the hangar's concrete floor, more than 30 feet below. After befriending Q, Quentin Covington's son and lieutenant, Kevin and his team of computers. Thanks to Kevin making friends with Q Covington, Quentin Covington's son and lieutenant, Kevin and his team gained access to his robotics factory. Kevin identified where Q was holding the next piece of Quentin's mysterious blueprint inside a massive robotic safe that Q dubbed the safe. Kevin and Zara attempted to crack the safe's combination, only to have the safe take Zara hostage. Kevin used another giant construction robot to defeat the safe and override its security protocols. But just when Kevin thought he could relax, the safe shut down. causing it to drop an unconscious Zara from more than 30 feet above toward the concrete floor. Still unconscious, Zara's limp body fell from the safe's upraised fist. It was more than 30 feet to the concrete floor of the massive hangar Q Covington kept his giant robots in. Zara was an ordinary person with no levels. There was no way she could survive the brutal impact a drop from that height would cause. Kevin forgot everything and dashed forward, his arms out. His timing, as usual, was perfect. He caught Zara and brought her gently to the ground. He gave her a gentle shake. Zara's body, no longer squeezed in the safe's massive fist, resumed its normal function. Her lungs took in deep breaths of air. Her color improved as the oxygen hit her bloodstream, and her eyes fluttered open. "Kevin, what happened?" she asked as soon as she was able. Kevin helped her sit up and she looked around. She saw that Safe's door was open. "You did it! I knew you would!" "And not a moment too soon," Kevin added. "I don't know how much longer Hiro and Yuri can keep Q distracted in another part of the factory. Let's hope he didn't hear any of the banging around." Suddenly, the safe swayed on its feet and crashed down on its side. Kevin covered Zara's body with his own to guard against any flying shrapnel, but the safe was incredibly tough and undamaged by the fall. Zara insisted on getting to her feet. "I shouldn't have let the safe capture me." "None of us knew Q's invention would grow arms and legs like that," Kevin reassured her. "True," Zara agreed. "But if I wasn't an ordinary and had special powers like you, I might have been able to avoid it grabbing me." Zara squared her shoulders. "I'm not going to slow you down anymore, Kevin. Let's get that blueprint and get out of here." She marched up to the safe and grabbed the only item in its chest compartment. It stuck to the compartment in a strange way, and Zara had to give it a good tug to free it. "That's strange," she told Kevin. "It was almost like it was magnetized." Zara showed Kevin the piece of blueprint. It definitely matched the others Kevin had acquired from 3 of Quentin Covington's other compounds, but the paper felt thicker and heavier. "This isn't ordinary paper," Kevin declared. "I think this was printed." "Of course it was printed," Zara frowned, confused. "How else would the schematics get on the paper?" Kevin shook his head. "I mean, the paper itself was printed in a 3D printer, and these lines aren't ink, they're some kind of flexible metal." "Why would this piece of the blueprint be 3D printed when none of the others were?" Zara wondered. Kevin looked back at the safe. He was getting a bad feeling. Maybe as an extra security precaution. What do you think happened when you broke the magnetic connection between the blueprint and the safe? Zara thought. "If I was designing it, I would add an independent security measure to make sure that even if the safe was defeated, the thieves still wouldn't get away with my property." "Exactly," Kevin said, glad that Zara was always able to see the conclusion he was leading her to with his questions. Safety lights lit up around the hangar as the warning klaxons blared on. "I think Q Covington had the same idea," Kevin yelled over the alarms. Suddenly, the safe sat up. Kevin and Zara scrambled out of their way, but the mega robot didn't make any threatening moves. "Secondary security measures engaged," it said in a voice far more robotic than the one it had used earlier. "Self-destruction countdown has begun." Kevin didn't wait to hear how long they had. He grabbed Zara by the hand and the two of them ran for the door. Together, they dashed down the corridor. Ahead, they saw Hiro and Yuki chatting with Q, obviously keeping him distracted so Kevin and Zara could break into the safe. "We gotta get out of here now," yelled Kevin at them. Hiro and Yuki tensed, instantly on high alert. They instinctively trusted the urgency in Kevin's voice. No explanation was needed. Q, however, didn't know Kevin that well. "Why?" Q demanded. "What's going on?" Kevin thought fast. He needed Q's cooperation to get his team safely away from the self-destructing robotics facility. "Your safe malfunctioned," Kevin told Q. "All of a sudden it started yelling about secondary independent security measures and self-destruction." "That's impossible," Q declared. "I would have gotten a notice on my phone if there was any breach at all to the safe security protocols." He patted his pockets looking for his phone. Hiro and Yuki exchanged glances. Behind Q's back, Hiro held up Q's phone so Kevin would understand that they had taken it off Q when he hadn't been looking. I think this belongs to you." Hiro handed Q back his phone. Q took one look at the screen and went white. "Oh my God, you're right. We have to get out of here before the whole factory goes sky high." "What's the fastest way out of here?" demanded Kevin. "This way," Q pointed. Sure enough, they could see the fire doors further down the corridor slowly start swinging shut. "We have to move fast," Q told them. "The whole building is locking down in order to contain the blast zone." Hiro and Yuki looked at each other. They shared a special bond as twins that allowed them to communicate without a single word in times of high stress and danger. Each grabbed Q by an arm, hoisted him into the air, and began running for the closing fire doors. Likewise, Kevin scooped Zara up in his arms. Like Q, Zara had no levels and couldn't run nearly as fast as Kevin. Everyone made it through the fire doors with time to spare, but Kevin knew they still had a long way to go before they were outside the blast radius of the machine as huge and complicated as the safe in Q's other inventions. "If one of your toys is self-destructing, shouldn't we be getting a countdown to the big blow-up or something?" Hiro demanded of Q as they raced down the silent corridors. "We didn't want to alarm anybody," Q explained. "How thoughtful of you," Yuki responded dryly. In fairness, the robotics factory was usually operated remotely by its staff. Kevin was just grateful he didn't have to clear any more humans from the facility. "Then how do we know how much longer we have?" Hiro demanded as they sprinted through another set of fire doors. Q consulted his watch. Held suspended between the much taller twins, his toes didn't even scrape the ground. "Hard to know for sure with the malfunction," Q proclaimed. "But my guess is another 30 seconds. Ahead of them, Kevin could see the daylight streaming into the factory's visitor's entrance. "We're almost there," he encouraged his team. Yuki and Hiro put on extra speed and smashed through the factory's front doors without even bothering to open them. Q threw up his hands to protect his face as glass exploded outwards as the steel shutters began to descend over the doors and windows. Kevin, cradling Zara in his arms, wasn't so lucky. The shutter snapped into place at the base of the windows just as Kevin approached. He knew he couldn't stop his momentum in time. He twisted at the last moment, and his shoulder, instead of Zara's vulnerable body, slammed into the steel shutter just as it locked into place. Outside the factory, Hiro and Yuki stared in horror at the blank steel shutters now cutting them off from Kevin and Zara. "You have to open those shutters," Hiro demanded of Q. "We have to get Kevin and Zara out of there," added Yuki. Q was shaken from his quick trip through his factory and out its windows. He punched ineffectively at his phone. "I'm trying the manual override, but nothing is happening," Q wailed. From inside the steel shutters came another terrific thump as Kevin rammed into them again with his shoulder. It created a significant dent. "Maybe if we ram those shutters from both sides, we can break Kevin and Zara out," suggested Hiro. "But those shutters are 3-inch reinforced tungsten steel plates," exclaimed Q. "They're rated to take the equivalent of the force of 7,000 sticks of dynamite." "We have to try something," declared Hiro. "Otherwise, Kevin and Zara will be blown to bits," added Yuki. After befriending Q, Quentin Covington's son and lieutenant, Kevin and his team of computer programmers, Zara and the twins Hiro and Yuki, recovered the next piece of the mysterious blueprint from a robotics factory. Unfortunately, in the process, Kevin and Zara tripped the facility's self-destruct mode, which also shut down the factory to contain a looming explosion. Kevin and Zara didn't make it out in time. Now Q, Hiro, and Yuki are stuck outside while Kevin and Zara are still in danger of being blown to bits by the auto-destruct function. Kevin stared in horror as all around him in the visitor entrance of Q Covington's robotics factory steel shutters, 3 inches thick, blocked him and Zara from escaping to the outside world. As long as they remained inside, Kevin and Zara were in danger of being blown apart by the factory's self-destruct mechanism. According to Q, it would detonate in less than 15 seconds. Suddenly, there was a giant clang from the central shutter as a dent appeared. Kevin understood immediately that Hiro and Yuki had just rammed the same shutter Kevin had run into seconds before. Kevin took a few steps back to gain momentum and dashed forward, bashing his shoulder against the exact same spots the twins had hit. Less than a second later, another blow to the shutter came from the opposite side. "Kevin, I don't know if this will work," Zara exclaimed. "We don't have time." "It's got to work," Kevin told her. "Otherwise, you and I are about to be blown to Kingdom Come." Kevin rammed the shutter again, and again Hiro and Yuki rammed the other side. It was like working the pull tab on a can of soda back and forth in order to break it off entirely. Kevin just prayed that they would be able to weaken the steel shutter enough with their blows to break it off before the entire factory self-destructed. It took 3 more sets of blows, but just as Zara was sure that the auto-destruction was imminent, the steel shattered with a terrific screech, and the entire shutter fell to the ground. Metal fatigue had worn through it from the tremendous blows from Kevin, Hiro, and Yuki, aided by Kevin's fantastic high-powered levels. Kevin helped Zara crawl through the hole in the shutter and followed through himself. Kevin grabbed Zara and immediately rolled to the side as a fiery blast of superheated air exploded out from the hole in the shutter. The ground shook under their feet. All around the factory complex, windows exploded and doors were blasted off their hinges. Q actually toppled to the ground from the force of the explosion, but as soon as it began, it was over, although the factory was left a ruined, smoking mess. Kevin helped Zara up as she patted the dust from her clothes. On one hand, she still clutched the next piece of Quentin Covington's mysterious blueprint. She had carried it all the way from the robotics hangar and hadn't lost her grip on it once. Hiro and Yuki helped Q up, dusting him off and making sure that the brilliant inventor and robotics genius wasn't hurt. "I don't understand what happened," Q muttered to himself. "The safe had been run through every testing protocol we could imagine. It never malfunctioned once. Why would it happen now?" "I understand why you're confused," Kevin told them, even though Kevin knew exactly what had happened. Q's brilliant safe had been an 8-foot cube of steel that could transform into a robot capable of defending itself. And the safe hadn't malfunctioned at all. In fact, it functioned exactly to plan. After Kevin and Zara had been able to use one of his programs to crack the combination, the behemoth robot's secondary security protocols kicked in and instigated the self-destruct procedures. But Q thought that Kevin and his team were Q's friends. Kevin thought it would be cruel to reveal themselves as enemies of Q's father, the evil billionaire Quentin Covington. Q seemed like such a sincere and kind young man. Kevin even would have liked to have had Q as a real friend if Kevin hadn't been sworn to stop whatever the evil billionaire's dastardly plan was. "Sometimes it's impossible to know what went wrong," Kevin started to say as he clapped Q on the back sympathetically. "But the important thing is that nobody was hurt or injured when your factory self-destructed. I just hope you didn't lose too much of your research. It seemed like there was a lot in there that could help improve the world." Kevin wondered if with a little encouragement, Q would find a way to use his brilliance toward bettering the world, rather than devoting it to furthering his father Quentin's evil schemes. "I'm not worried about lost research," Q said. "Everything was backed up on the company servers off-site. I did lose the prototypes of those construction robots, though." Q hung his head. "My father will be so disappointed in me." Kevin, Hiro, Yuki, and Zara all traded looks. Q didn't know who Kevin and his team were, but Quentin Covington would instantly know. Q straightened his shoulders bravely. "There's nothing in it for me now but to come clean," he declared. "But first I better call my girlfriend Anata and make sure that she's okay. I worry about her and the baby." Q's girlfriend Anata was far along in her pregnancy with their first child. Anata had admitted to Kevin that she had been originally hired by Q's father to act as Q's bodyguard and to be the security officer for Quentin Covington's operations in Japan. But Anata had fallen in love with the kind young man she had been tasked with protecting. Kevin had left her safely locked in a garden shed after she had attacked him in Tokyo, and told Q that Anata had gone to visit her mother for a few days. "Maybe you shouldn't worry Anata quite yet," suggested Zara. "Didn't she text you that she was going to stay with her mom?" Q looked at his phone. The glass was cracked, but otherwise it was working perfectly. But Anata is due to arrive here any moment, Q informed them all. What? Kevin couldn't keep the surprise from his voice. There was no way Anata should have been able to escape her comfortable prison in a garden shed so soon, much less make the journey from Tokyo to the northern area of Tohoku. Yeah, Q continued. She messaged me to say she was arriving in our SpaceX Mega Tesla. Yuki frowned. I'd never heard of one of those. What does a SpaceX Mega Tesla do? It's not as cool as it sounds, Q said as he shook his head sadly. The windshield is way more prone to cracking than you'd think a $100 million vehicle would be. That's why it's not recommended for altitudes above 25,000 feet. Q's phone now displayed a map with a dot showing the SpaceX Mega Tesla's approach. Hiro's eyes went wide. So that means it flies? Of course, Q scanned the skies. There she is now, Q pointed. Sure enough, a small jet-powered aircraft was shooting across the sky toward them. It was eerie for two reasons. First of all, it almost made no sound. Secondly, the front of the aircraft had a peculiar muffled look since the electric jet engines required no air intake. Before any of them could say another word, the SpaceX Mega Tesla swooped low, cutting Q off from Kevin and the others. From inside, Anata threw the passenger door open. Q, there you are. You need to get in right now, Anata yelled at him. Q frowned. Honey, I can't just leave my guests. The factory self-destructed and my friends Kevin, Zara, Yuki, and Hiro helped me escape unharmed. Even from 50 feet away, Kevin could see Anata roll her eyes. They're not your friends, Q, Anata told him. They're your father's enemies. They're only pretending to like you so they can steal that piece of blueprint your father told us to keep safe. Q turned angry, hurt eyes on Kevin, Zara, Yuki, and Hiro. Is this true? Q demanded. After all we've been through together? After saving me from the police raid on the underground robot battles, being welcomed into my home, meeting the mother of my unborn child, and getting a personal tour of my factory? Were you really just using me after all? Before Kevin could stop her, Zara stepped forward. Q, we're sorry. We didn't mean... I don't care what you meant to do, Q exclaimed. I thought you were my friends, but really you're just my father's enemies, and that makes you my enemies too. He reached out and snatched the precious piece of blueprint from Zara's hands and ran for the SpaceX Mega Tesla. Yuki and Hiro dashed after Q. They were much faster than the robotics inventor, but Anata was ready for them. She turned the electric jet engines around and unleashed a furious blast of electric jets at the twins, forcing them backwards. With a yell of rage that surprised even herself, Zara dashed after Q and tackled him to the ground. The piece of Quentin Covington's mysterious blueprint sprang from Q's hands as he hit the ground from Zara's impact. At the same time, Anata steered the SpaceX Mega Tesla in a wide circle, firing the electric jets to keep the twins at bay. The blueprint wafted into the electric jet's pathway. Kevin stared in horror as the 3D printed blueprint met the white-hot electric jets. The blueprint instantly turned to ash, along with whatever secrets to Quentin Covington's evil master